Hi guys, it's me, Nicolette. So today I want to talk a little bit about, when you are buying a house, what are some of the things that you need to be looking out for? As a matter of fact, before you actually go and apply for a home loan, how do you prepare yourself for a home loan? So some very clever people have reported that obviously South Africans have decreased the rate in which they acquire debt, and this is absolutely amazing stuff. But there is also a report of, more people defaulting on their car and home loan payments. And I'm just thinking, what would be the reason for you to default on your home payment, other than if you maybe just, you've just lost your job or something has happened? Because I, for one, always prioritize my bond. It's like literally the first thing that I pay for before I even think of other things. So in my head, that would have made more sense to a lot of people to prioritize their bond or their rent or whatever. But we're talking about a bond here. So just to talk a little bit about the things that you need to do to make sure that you are prepared for a bond. I think the first thing, very, very important, is for you to understand your income, your annual income. So basically what banks are going to be looking at is your annual income. How much do you earn? And that being the first and foremost. The second thing that they're going to be looking out for is how much money is left in your account after you've paid all your debts, all your expenses, all your monthly living expenses, all your monthly bills, all your contractual bills. So basically, as soon as all your debit orders go out, they want to know how much money is actually left in your account. And that is the money that they then look at to say, then how do we possibly give this person a bond at this amount of money? But I mean, the traditional way of how they used to do it was 30% of your entire income. So your gross. Basically, they would calculate 30% of that, and they'll say, okay, this person has 30% of their income still left as disposable income. Therefore, we can give them a bond of this specific house. Now, the great thing about these days is that there's calculators, and you can always try and calculate how much you can actually afford, basically. And that's how the system works in this country, is that you calculate how much you can afford, and then you go out and look for the house of that amount of money. So by the time you get to the bank, they're looking for an offer to purchase. You give them the offer to purchase, and they then calculate whether or not you are a good credit person to be able to grant that credit. So what I'm not a creditor, whatever, a person who gets credit, whatever they call it in English. So basically that's how it works. So you would need to make sure that all your income equates, calculates all your income, and then go to the calculators and kind of figure out how much it is that you can afford. But remember that it also is very, very important that you make sure that you've got the disposable income to be able to pay the installment or the calculated potential installment that you're going to be paying. For instance, usually it's not math, but usually it's 10% of whatever bond you're asking for. So if you're asking for a bond of 1.2, you can look forward to paying on average, the ideal person would probably be paying something around about 11,900 to 12,500 Rand in their installment every single month. So this you can use as a guiding line. But as I said, there are calculators that you can use on the internet. They are available for you. So it's very important that you make sure that your income is on track and you actually have an income, because sometimes people don't have an income and then they come and say to me, but Nicolette, how do I buy a house without an income? The reality is that the bank needs to see you as somebody safe enough for them to borrow you money, to give you money to go and buy a house. So you do have to have some sort of income. If it means that you are a freelancer, try and see if you can, at least for 3 months or so, 6 months even, get the same equal income. So, if let's say you're making, let's say you're a freelancer or a photographer or whatever, or you don't have to stay as one employer, just make sure that the amount that you want to go and borrow kind of like is the same amount that is reflecting in your account. So for instance, if you want to be paying, if you want to say to the bank that your monthly income is like 40,000, make sure that at least for 3 months you can reflect 40,000 of income coming into your bank. And by the way, not it going out. So you can't borrow, you can't ask your friends to put 40,000 Rand every month in your account and then you withdraw it and give it back to them. No, it doesn't work. It's got to stay in your account. You got to use it in your account, and then you got to show some sort of disposable income, right? Now, the second thing that you need to be very wary of is your credit score. People, please use the advantage that you've got. All the credit bureaus in this country by law are supposed to give you one free credit score assessment every single year. Annually, you have every right to one credit report. Go out there, Experian, TransUnion, Kudo, they will all give you a free assessment. Now, on your assessment, you are able to then see which are the people that you still owe, how have you been paying. So your credit score basically is an accumulation of what kind of a credit, what kind of a creditor are you? Is a creditor, I don't know what the word is, but how are you paying? Are you paying in arrears? Are your installments in arrears? Is your debt I'm behind? So those kind of things. So basically your credit score is an indicator of what type of person are you when it comes to paying your debts. And the higher your credit score is, obviously, it's because of that. But also what banks do is they look at how much debt do you actually have. Because with the credit score, it will show all your accounts. So that will be able to indicate to them how much debt you actually have. And sometimes there is situations where people earn quite a lot of money. And let's say, for instance, they earn 50,000 Rand. They're looking for a house with maybe they've got a disposable income of 10,000 Rand. They're looking for a house with 3 million Rand, and the bank will say no, purely because their disposable income is not enough, but also because the bank will say you are overcommitted. That's why when we speak in the other videos, we talk about when you buy a car, you need to have future planning, because you need to think of what are the other financial obligations or financial implications that you might have popping up within that 5 years. So it's also the same thing when you're looking for a home loan. Also keep in mind that even if you are getting the right disposable income right now that might cover your installment, it is a 20-year bond. So keep that in mind at all times, that in 20 years, you need to be able to service that installment every single month, despite whatever comes up in your life. So it doesn't matter if you have kids and now all of a sudden your kids are costing you money. If your car breaks down, if your house burns down, you need to make sure that that installment is still available every single month for the bank, because they are going to want their money. So that's something that you need to also be looking at. Then the third thing that you also need to be looking at is it worth it saving a deposit for this house? And I always say to people, a deposit is probably one of the most important things. First of all, it makes the bank think that you really are a good person, because it means that you can kind of save, but basically it means that you're borrowing less money from the bank, and that's really important to them, because they want to believe that you've got some sort of backing, financial backing. You're not coming in looking for 100% bond. Now obviously you can go out and look for 100% bond, and some banks will give you 100% bond, but it's not always advisable. And for me, I always say have some sort of deposit, because basically if you're looking for a house costing 500,000 Rand, but you've saved maybe 100,000 Rand, put it in as your deposit. Now means that you're only borrowing 400,000 Rand from the bank. So those are some of the things that you need to be thinking of. The other thing that you need to be very realistic about is, please choose houses that you actually can afford. So if the calculator says to you, look, the bank can potentially afford to give you 1.2 million Rand. You don't have to go look for a house that is 1.2 million Rand. You can look for a house that's less than 1.2 million Rand. It's actually more advisable to go look for a house less than the amount that the bank is going to be giving you, because basically what you're going to be doing is this: you're choking yourself, basically. Again, thinking of future implication. If something does happen to you, you still need to have a little bit more disposable income for you to be able to service anything else that might come up. So it's very important that you keep that also at the back of your head, right? The other thing that you need to also just think of is that when you do put in your home loan, especially a home loan application, they will ask you for your SARS details, which means that you need to be filing your returns, guys. You need to be in good standing with SARS. They will not give you a home loan if you're not in good standing with SARS. So that's also something that is very important. Don't find yourself caught out in a situation where you cannot get a home loan because of silly things. But also the last and most important thing that I always say to people that they must always think about is property is expensive, especially if you're going to live in it, but it can also become expensive if you're going to be renting it out, because sometimes you find situations where your tenants do not pay you rent. So you need to always be paid. I always say have at least 3 months worth of rent of the amount that you are charging your tenants, so that if they do default and they don't pay rent but you are paying a bond, you're able to go and take that money out and be able to pay your bond if you're going to go the route of rent to let, right? But then the other thing is that also remember that you need to have transfer fees and registration fees. Obviously those things are very, very important. Lawyers want their money. They're not even trying to smile with you. If you want that money, if you want your bond to be registered, you need to pay a certain amount of money to a certain lawyer. If you want the title deed to be transferred, and remember that if you're buying it on bond, it actually gets transferred to the bank first, and the bank holds the title. Well, it doesn't really get transferred to them, but they hold the title deed up until the day that you actually settle that bond. So keep that also in mind. And if you are going to be settling your bond before the maturity date, you need to remember that there might be a penalty that you might pay depending on the bank and how early you do settle. How banks work is that basically when they calculate over 20 years the installment that you're supposed to pay, they calculate how much money they can get from you through interest. So they've obviously got a targeted amount of money that they should get from your home loan. And if you settle early, you basically are saying that you bring down the principal debt, which is what you owe, which means that they actually collect less interest from what they had actually kind of calculated. So also keep in mind that you might be charged a certain fee for you to terminate your contract. Sometimes it's better if you don't terminate it and you just keep it open and you just pay the service fees. But whatever rocks your boat. Bye.